All right, welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here and sharing your practice. As far as props go today, we definitely need a blanket or a towel. That's the main thing that we need. If you have a foam roller, you might want to grab that, but we can do this with the blanket or a towel, not the foam roller. The strap is going to be mostly for quad stretching. So if you struggle to reach back and find the foot, grab the strap. You might need the blocks, but you can totally get by without them. So as as you are maybe getting off the water with the season and doing more on the erg, that repetitive motion that you do on the water is even more isolated on the erg. You're not even having to use your hips to adjust and balance. And so the movements and the repetition of them are a little bit more restricted, and therefore you have more risk for repetitive stress injuries of the low back and also stress fractures of the rib cage. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go, why that happens and what you can do to prevent that from happening, besides cutting back on your time on the erg. So we will be starting on our backs. And just a reminder that if anything is uncomfortable or painful, those are your body's way of telling you to change it, to make the practice work better for you. So always feel free to rest at any time, substitute or modify the movements or the poses that I'm offering. Whatever position you want to be here on your back, legs bent or straight or even elevated is fine. We'll be in some relative stillness here at the very beginning. And just take a moment to bring your attention to your breath, starting to breathe in and out through the nose. Slowing the breath down, lengthening it out. Noting that expansion of the belly, of the rib cage as you breathe in, making space for the air. This contraction, very passive movement of the exhale, the belly, the rib cage, pulling inward, downward. Strain on the rib cage can often happen at the beginning of the drive phase, especially if you've overextended in the catch, rounding the upper back. But as you initiate movement with the legs, the ribs are having to stabilize the arms. The attachment of some of the muscles that run from the arms to the rib cage, the lats, the serratus muscles, and the obliques, the abdominal muscles, and the side waist, having to hold very forcefully. So here, just expanding the rib cage with the breath is a mobility exercise for your ribs. So I'm going to have you take your hands, put them on either sides of your lower ribs. So kind of find where your waist is and then come right above it here on either side. So my hands are at the side ribs, elbows are out to the sides. As you breathe in, you're pushing the ribs out into the hands. Breathe out. Notice how they soften, come inward, downward. Breathing in, Ribs expanding out into the hands. Breathing out, they soften inward. Do a few more of those lengthened breaths. Rib cage expanding, contracting. After the next exhale, let your arms relax, hands coming away from the ribs. Take the next few breaths, setting an intention for your practice today. Recalling or bringing to mind the reason that you have made time to come here to work on this practice. Whether it's about injury prevention, gaining strength, feeling better, releasing tension, bring this thought to the front of your mind and breathe with intention. So we'll begin to move from here, and we're starting on our side. So coming into this kind of curled up fetal position, hips and knees bent. You could use your arm to support the head or slide the folded blanket underneath it. So we're mobilizing through that mid and upper back here with the sideline twist. So lower body's going to stay in this position. We're stretching the top arm forward. We're pulling the elbow back, just the elbow, and turn your head in that direction. So you're looking towards the elbow. And then reach it forward again, rolling onto your side. So we inhale to pull the elbow back, look towards the elbow, exhale, stretch the arm forward. And take a few more like this. Might be feeling that shoulder blade moving on the back ribs. Feeling that twist in the mid and upper back. A couple more. And we'll roll over to do the same thing on the other side. So make sure you support the head so you don't end up straining through the neck, hips and knees bent. Top arm stretching forward to start. We inhale, pull that arm back. Exhale, reach it forward. Make sure you turn your head with that arm movement. And it's going to give you a little bit more motion in that mid and upper back, that thoracic spine. So the ribs attach in the front, either directly or indirectly through cartilage, to the breastbone. They wrap around your sides, and then the back end of them attached to the thoracic spine, so the vertebrae of the mid and upper back. This movement is getting rotation in the thoracic spine and loosening up, or at least making them not so rigid, those joints there between the rib and the thoracic spine. And we'll come over onto our sides again and making the way up onto hands and knees. So you'll notice here we're doing a few more things to mobilize that spine. And the next few, you'll probably feel it here around the shoulder blades. There's some muscles that move or attach on the shoulder blades and the rib cage that we'll be stretching and releasing here. So starting in hands and knees, knees under hips, wrists are under shoulders. Remember your alternatives for flat hand. It could be loose fist or on your forearms here. Either of those will work for what we're going to do next. Cat and cow. So we round through the back, tuck the chin and tailbone under, and then lift the tailbone, pull the chest forward. Exhaling to round the back, pushing the floor away. Inhale, spine arches downward, hips up, chest forward. A few more here. And along with that spinal movement, noticing the shoulder blades moving apart and then moving together. There are muscles that run from the underside of the shoulder blades, wrap around the sides of your ribs and attach towards the front. And these muscles engage pretty forcefully at the first part of the drive phase. As you reach your arms forward at the catch, and you have to keep your arms forward until you've straightened the legs and started to lean the torso backward. Those muscles are stabilizing pretty forcefully, and they end up pulling on the ribs. And this could be one of the culprits, pulling on the ribs, causing repetitive stress, and you can get a stress fracture just from lots of repetition of that. Bringing this back into neutral spinal position for the tabletop. And we're stretching one leg out to the side. So you'll have the sole of this foot down. My leg is coming straight out from the hip. My toes point forward here. A little inner thigh stretch. We inhale, shift backward, and then exhale, shift it forward again. I'm going to do a few of those, and you're just moving in as much range of motion as you comfortably have. And I bet for most of you, it'll be the inner thigh that you feel the stretch in. That'll be the limitation for your movement as opposed to the shoulders or the spine or the low back. We'll do one more here. And pause when you have the shoulders over the wrist. Adding a little side bend to this. So I'm going to walk my hands over towards the left. And this might be enough stretch through that. I'm walking my hands over towards the straightened leg. And this might be enough stretch through the side body on the opposite of the straightened leg. Or you could walk your hands out away from you a little bit. Let the head drop down between the arms. And that's going to add a little stretch into your lats, these big back muscles. Actually, shoulder and back muscles. They attach to the mid and lower back. Come up and through the armpit and attach to the inner upper arm. They're also very strong stabilizers as the legs are initiating the drive phase. Pulling on the rib cage and the arm. Walking the hands back into center. Bring the knee down and we're switching sides. So the other leg is coming out to the side. You have the sole of the foot down, toe pointing forward. We're shifting back first and then shifting forward. So probably a small little movement here, or to whatever extent you start to feel a little stretch in the inner thigh of the straightened leg, coming back out of it. Pausing here in that forward neutral position. So the side bend, I'm going to walk my hands over towards the straightened leg side. This could be enough stretch for you here, or walk the hands out away from you a bit and lower the head down between the arms so you relax through the neck. So you're opening up through the side body of the bent leg side, the lats, but also the muscles that run in between the rib cage, and even attachment of the diaphragm, this primary muscle of breathing. We'll come up, walk this back into center, having both knees down here again. Stretch one foot back, toes touch in this toe rocking movement. So shifting forward, toes bending, pressing the heel back for a little calf stretch. Forward and back here a few times. Opening up through the back of that lower leg, sole of the foot. Important mobility in the catch. When you don't have as much mobility here, and you in the ankle and the toe, and you try to make yourself into a smaller ball, you end up rounding through the upper back And this can also cause a lot of back issues and a lot more torque coming onto the ribs. We'll lower the knee down, switch sides. So it seems like the foot is really far away from the ribs or what might be happening at the back. But lack of mobility there, our bodies sort of unconsciously try to make up for it in different joints, different parts of the body. So being tighter there can actually cause problems in the back, the ribs, the shoulders, even the neck. All right, lowering that knee back down. I'm getting ready to set up for down dog. This might not work for you, might not be good for your body. You could be in a puppy pose, which is hips over knees, forehead down, arms stretching out. You could continue the toe rock to open up there, or hands forward of shoulders a bit, hips up and back, finding that length in the spine. Take a moment here to pedal the feet. Maybe it's rising up on toes, releasing the heels. And then trying this one here, rising up on the tiptoes, drop the heels over to the left and push that right hip up and back. That left knee might bend a little bit. So you stretch through that right side body. Come up on the tiptoes and center again, drop the heels to the right. Push that left hip up and back. That right knee might bend a little bit, and both knees might bend. Do that a few more times, kind of dropping the heels over, lengthening through one side, so you might be getting through your back or those oblique side waist muscles. Coming back up through center, looking forward, we're going to step the left foot between the hands. If it doesn't get there, you could lower that right knee, left hand helping that foot come forward. We're all going to lower that back knee here and lift up into this upright position of the lunge. Finding a little stability at the wall or hands on the thigh here to start. Find that length in the spine so the tailbone lengthens down, the top of the head is reaching up. Right arm coming up, bend that elbow so the hand comes down sort of in between the shoulder blades. I'm going to turn so you can see me from the back. Left hand finds the elbow. Find this length up first and then lean it over towards the left. We're going to hold this pose, but we're breathing because we're opening up through some of these breathing muscles here. Just by the side bend, and the inhale might add a little more stretch. Notice if your arm kind of pushed your head forward, gently push that head back. Just realized I had the wrong foot forward. I was like, why don't I feel that stretch anymore? All right, we'll lift up, release the arms down to the floor around that front foot. We're lifting this back knee here, stepping it into a plank. Knees down or up. We're lowering all the way down to the floor. Point your feet here. Pull the shoulder blades towards the spine and then towards the back waist to lift the head and chest. We're in that low cobra, neck long. You could stay here or press up a little higher, whatever feels good to the spine or arms. Tuck the toes. We're making our way up and back to the down dog. Find that length in the spine. Shake the head, pedal the feet, whatever might feel like a good movement for another breath or two. Looking forward, we'll step the right foot between the hands this time, lowering that back knee. Find your balance and find yourself into that upright position of the lunge. Tailbone lengthens down, the top of the head is reaching up. Left arm reaches up, bend the elbow. Right hand finding that elbow. Find length upward first and then lean over towards your right. It's not a big lean in my body because I feel immediately this stretch through that outside left shoulder, kind of side of my armpit, side ribs, even into the side waist here. Notice if the arms start to push your head forward, gently push it back. And then feel what happens when you breathe. How does the sensation of stretch change? Does it feel more, less? Does it change where you feel it? We'll rise up, release the arms down, hands come around the front foot, and step the back foot to the front foot to find a version of forward fold working for your body. So could be the ragdoll version, knees bent, upper body draped over lower, or it could be this one, protective of the spine, hamstrings its feet wide, butt back, your forearms on your thighs. Spine stays long without compression at all here. In either pose, you could sway a little bit, could shake that head out. If you're in the ragdoll, holding elbows either forward of your legs or even bend the knees a little bit, hold behind the legs, kind of a nice opening of that thoracic spine. Take a few more breaths wherever you ended up with this. Bringing your weight shift into center, look forward, bend the knees, strong legs will rise up to stand. Once you come up, roll those ribs up and back here a few times. All right, we'll move that blanket out of the way if you have it still on your mat. And I'm going to have you step out with your feet a little wider than shoulder distance apart. Our toes are turned out here. Bend through the knees and bend through your hips. That spine is long. And then we're hinging forward. So you can either bring your hands to your knees here or forearms to the knees or just above them, really. And then we're adding this twist. So we lower one shoulder and look away from it. Bring it back to center as you inhale. Exhale, lower the other shoulder and look away. Inhale through center. And then alternating sides here. So again, that mid and upper back rotation, mobilizing the joints between the ribs and the vertebrae in the back. And stretching, lengthening, releasing here, maybe through your obliques, maybe you feel it in lats, or just those muscles in between the ribs, areas that can hold a lot of tension. Bringing it back in through center, strong legs will rise up to stand. Again, rolling those shoulders back and down. Walk your feet in. You're coming to the front of your mat here. If you have the yoga blocks, you're going to grab them. If you don't, you might not need them. We're going to be coming eventually into a supported warrior 3. So having hands on the blocks, or you might have a chair. You could have the hands on the chair for that version of this as well. Or hands on the floor. That's just a little more challenging. Starting here at the front of the mat, we're going to take a big to medium step back with that left foot. So warrior 1, back heel is down, that foot is turned out, front knee is bent, tailbone reaches down towards the floor, and the top of the head reaching up towards the ceiling. We're bringing the hands behind the head and interlacing the fingers. Now we're adding some movement of the upper body. And by upper body, I mean like ribs and above. So the lower body stays really grounded, tailbone lengthening towards the earth. And as you inhale, let the elbows come back, lift the breastbone, bring the gaze up a little bit, but don't let the lower ribs flare out so the low back arches. So keep the tailbone down. This part's easier. We exhale, bring the elbows forward and drop the chin. So we inhale, elbows back, lift the breastbone, gaze up, exhale, elbows forward, drop the chin. Couple more. We're doing this motion here in Warrior 1. You're going to see it a little bit later in the practice, lying down, and we'll have like a fulcrum roll under that mid and upper back and trying the same motion. We'll inhale, lift the head, release the arms. You could swing those arms out. Maybe you straighten that front knee just for a little break on the quads. And we'll rebend that front knee again. Tailbone down, top of the head up. This is similar to what we just did in the knee down lunge. We'll reach both arms up, and the right hand finds the left wrist, turning just so you can see me here from behind. And then we lengthen up and arc it over towards the right. So again, we start to open up through that left side body, like ribs or maybe even wrists, all the way down to the top of that left hip. And again, feel the breath here. Maybe you lost the breath. Sometimes when we open up the rib cage, it signals to the body that we've already taken an inhale. And now you got to move a little bit more through the belly, the diaphragm, with the breath. We inhale, lift up, release the arms. You could swing them out, straightening the front leg, and we're going to step the back foot in a little bit closer. Both toes pointing straight forward. Hands on the hips. Inhale, get tall. Might feel good to take that little arch from behind the heart. By that I mean in the thoracic spine. We're hinging forward and pause before the back begins to round. Make a subtle adjustment where you pull the front hip back and the back hip forward to level those hips out. You could stay here, tiny bend to that front knee, hands on the front thigh. Maybe the hands come down to the blocks or the floor, or you maybe have that chair here in front of you. And you could keep that spine relatively level, keep pulling that right hip back, the left hip forward, or maybe folding over here. Adding a little bit of that ankle movement, try to rock back on that front heel, and then lower the foot. We inhale, pull that front foot towards you, exhale, lower. Couple more here. You might feel that all the way down the back of the leg into the calf. Lower that front foot. Now you could choose to stay here and not go into the supported warrior through your balance. So bend the front knee, walk your blocks or hands forward onto the floor or a chair. Lift that back leg, straightening or straight-ish in the front leg. Back toes point down. And here, try to lengthen out through the top of the head. So similar to like a bird dog type of position where we reach the tailbone down, back and the top of the head forward. It could be you stay right here or working on balance and core and back strength. Maybe you reach one hand back and switch and reach the other. Maybe you reach both back. Actively reach back so the neck is long. Take another couple breaths. And then we'll lower the foot down, bend the knees, rise up, pull the shoulders, shake your hips out a little bit. And of course, we'll end up doing this on the other side. So maybe those blocks in a little closer. It'll be the right foot back in our warrior one here. So back foot is flat and turned out, front knee bent, hips square to the front, tailbone down towards the earth. Top of the head reaching up, create space between the spine, the vertebrae of the spine. Hands interlace at the back of the head. Keep that tailbone down, so don't get a big arch in the low back with this. We inhale, elbows back, lift the breastbone. So this is movement from the ribs and above. Exhale, elbows forward, drop the chin. Let's do 3 more. Mobilizing that thoracic spine, opening the top of the ribs, mobilizing the joints between the ribs and the spine. Right, so we open and close. We're not clamping down on the ribs, which often happens at that first part of the drive phase. Lift the head. We'll release the hands. You can straighten the front leg for a little bit of a break. And then we'll add the side bend into this. So front knee bending again. And we're reaching the arms up. Tailbone down, top of the head up. Left hand finds right wrist. We lengthen up and arc it over here towards the left. Try to keep that gaze forward as opposed to down. Keep that back heel pressing down. And notice what happens with the sensation of stretch as you breathe. You might be feeling some of this in the side waist, those oblique muscles, which are also really strong stabilizers in the first half of the drive phase. We'll rise back up. Release the arms, straighten the front legs, step the back foot in a little bit closer as we set up for that pyramid pose. Hands on the hips, get tall, maybe that little back bend in the thoracic spine. Start to hinge forward here. Pause before the spine rounds. Pull the front hip back, back hip forward. You could stay here, tiny bend to the front knee, hands interlaced on the front thigh. This could be as far as you need to go. Hands down to the seat of the chair, hands on the blocks or the floor. You could keep that spine long as I'm doing here, or you could fold over that front leg. And try rocking back on the front heel and lower. Inhale, pull the foot up. Exhale to lower. A few more. Lower that foot again. So you could stay here. You don't have to do the balance part. Or bend the front knee. Walk your hands or the blocks forward. Lift that back leg. Here we are in a supported warrior 3. Try to lengthen that spine. Tailbone towards the back wall. Top of the head towards the front wall. Firm the belly. Breathe. You could stay here, or maybe you practice reaching one and then the other hand back, or both hands, gaze straight down, lengthen, heel to top of head. Another couple breaths. Lower the foot, bend the knees, inhale, rise up. Couple of backward shoulder rolls from here. Shake out the legs. We're working a little bit more on balance, if that wasn't enough for you. This time we're not transferring in and out of it, so you could set yourself up. Staying on the mat can make it more challenging, especially if it's squishy. Coming to a more solid surface helps. Having a hand at the wall can be helpful here too. So we're bringing one foot forward, lift and spread those toes and place them down in that spread out position. Shift your weight onto that foot. We're setting up into tree pose here. We're going to start with a kickstand version. So the other foot, we have the heel just above the ankle and the toes down on the floor. Focus the gaze on the non-moving spot. Find that length in the spine again. Now you could always stay here with the foot down. Or you could play with bringing the foot up, knowing you could always put the foot back down if you needed it. Maybe you use your hand to pull it up a little higher on your leg. It's not necessary. I wouldn't work towards that if you're struggling with it. Think about pressing foot and thigh or foot and leg together. And that's going to help you be in a midline here. You could stay right here, especially if one little movement's going to throw you off. Or come into cactus arm position. And for this one, I'm going to bring my arms towards each other and then open back up, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Exhale, forearms together. Inhale, opening back up. Couple more here. So as we open the chest, we're actually stretching the serratus muscles, these underside of the shoulder blade muscles, and then releasing. All right, let it go. Foot down. Shake out that standing leg, or both legs if you'd like. And then the other foot forward. Lift and spread those toes. Place them down, spread out. Shift your weight onto it. Find the kickstand version first. Toes down, heel just above the ankle. Tailbone down, top of the head up. That kind of stacks everything in towards midline. Focusing the gaze on a non-moving spot. Maybe you bring the foot up. Maybe you don't. Think about pressing foot and leg in towards each other. Breathe. You could stay with this or the cactus arms. We exhale, bring the forearms together. Inhale, apart, shoulder blade squeeze. 3 more. Or hold and breathe. And then release the foot, shake out, shake out the legs or roll the shoulders here, all of the above. And I'm coming up to the front of my mat. I'm going to use my blocks here for this. I think it'll be helpful as I come into a squat. If squat pose doesn't work for your feet, your ankles, your knees, your back, whatever it is, you can always modify this. You could come partway down. In fact, I'll come partway down first. Or you could come onto your back into a happy baby. Kind of pulling on the feet is going to give you a similar positioning without the compressive forces through the joints. So I'm coming down into the squat. I'm going to keep my knees forward and my heels are going to lift up off the ground, hands here on the blocks. So I'm sort of simulating what the body is doing in the catch position. And I'll just show you real quick. If you're not here in that squat, you could be on your back, kind of holding, pulling in, or holding the feet. If you are in that squat, notice what's happening here at the back. So coming into real compact position would be kind of rounding the upper back here, but this is going to put a lot of stress on the ribs, on the shoulders, on the spine. So press into your hands and see if you can pull the chest forward here. And then let it drop, a little kind of cat motion, dropping the chin. And then pull that chest forward again, inhaling chest forward, exhale, let it round. We'll do a few more. So just trying to get the strength in that mid and upper back and that feeling of the lower body in this compressed catch position, but not rounding through that upper back. One more, lifting the chest, stay here, relax the shoulders on the exhale. One more inhale, and then exhale. We're going to make our way back onto the mat, however you want to get there, 2 hands and knees. Once you're there, it might feel good to just kind of tap the tops of your feet. Sometimes feet and toes get a little release from that after the squat position. I'm coming up to stand on my knees, and you might like the blanket here for a little extra padding under your knees. So I've talked a little bit more about the beginning of the drive phase, but at the end of the drive phase, coming into the finish, you need a little bit more stability through the core so that you don't end up being too much of a back bend or relying too much on the shoulder and rib cage stabilizing muscles. So we want to work a little bit here on keeping the spine long as we lean back. We're going to end up getting a little quads here as well. So find that same length in the spine. I often talk about tailbone down and the top of the head reaching up, hands on the hips. And we're coming into a little bit of a lean back, but from the knees as opposed to from the waist. You're going to feel your core have to work a little harder, and then we're rising into that upright position. So we inhale, lean back from the knees, exhale, come to upright. We'll do a few more here. Try to keep your gaze level. So even as you lean back, you're not throwing the head back. It might even be a slight chin tuck here, coming up. So this is obviously a very slowed down, kind of lean back here. Hopefully you're feeling the core engaging, the abdominal muscles engaging. You're going to feel your quads, which is not similar to what you would be doing in the finish of your stroke. They'd be opening up and not having to work quite so hard there. All right, coming up into upright. We're coming down again to hands and knees position. So I talked before a little about the bird dog when we were in that supported warrior 3. I'm going to do a variation of it here. And again, you might choose loose fist or to come onto your forearms here from the tabletop. We firm the belly, so make a solid wall of your abdominal muscles, and we lengthen out through the spine. So here we use the abs and spinal muscles to stabilize. Reach one leg back, toes point straight down towards the earth. You could stay with just leg or reach the opposite arm forward, thumb up, spine long. I'm going to add movement to add a little challenge. Inhale, move the leg and the arm out to either side, and then exhale, pull it back into midline. Inhale, arm and leg out, reach out opposite directions. Exhale, center. Couple more here. So working on core strength, spinal lengthening. All right, lower the hand and the knee. Maybe a few cat-cows or wag the tail or sit back or stand on the knee, shake out the wrist. We're working on strength and endurance, right? So for rowing, it's repetition. The more tired you get, if the core muscles, if the spinal muscles start to fatigue, they can no longer protect your spine. And working past fatigue that's what you're asking for, like a repetitive stress injury, low back strain. We're going to do this on the other side. So hands and knees, firm the belly, spine long, other leg back, toes point down. You could keep it at just leg or reach the opposite arm forward, thumb up. Adding movement for challenge, we inhale, leg and arm out to the sides. Exhale, bring it back to midline. I'm going to do 3 more. Notice that it is not a big movement for me. That little bit of move of the arm and leg out to the sides is making my core have to work pretty hard. Lower the hand, lower the knee, maybe a few cat-cows or wag of the tail. Maybe you come up on the fingertips for your cat-cows. More work you can do with the core, with even not even adding a whole lot of resistance to it, because you want to work on that stamina, right? So it's not like you're having to chop wood and have super strong, forceful movements of the core and the spine. You just need to hold it in a relatively straightened position, but over and over and over and over again as you row. All right, bring this back into center from here. And coming back into a child's or puppy pose. So child's pose, hips over heels, forehead resting. And this could work for you, but hip, knee, spine issues, herniated disc, low bone density in the spine. Puppy pose, which I'm demonstrating here, is hips over knees, forehead down. So that's the safer version, or maybe more comfortable version for you. Take a few breaths, returning to a lengthened breath that we started with, and your intention for the practice. And eventually making your way onto your belly. We're going to do a quad stretch first, so you might want your strap. But we're eventually coming into a locust pose, this belly down, back bend. So you might want that little bit of padding under the pubic bones here. Bring the arm forward, bend the knee, reach back to find the foot here with the hand. Lengthen the kneecap towards the foot of the mat. If it's hard to get that foot or painful in the knee, cramp in the hamstring, this is where you might choose to use a strap instead. If you can lasso it there. I struggled with that today. Letting that foot go to do the other side. Kneecap lengthening towards the foot of your mat. We'll let that foot go. So I'm coming into locust pose. if you have some arthritis in the lower back, if you tend to cramp there in the lower back, you could turn over on your back and do bridge pose instead. Or you could put a small pillow under the low belly and do the same things. You just start from the low back in a slightly flexed position. We'll have the arms down by the sides, the palms facing up. Lengthen the tailbone towards the feet. So you're pressing that pubic bone into the floor. The low belly muscle is engaging here. This is going to be protective of the spine. Inhale, lift the head and chest. Lift the arms and actively reach them towards your feet. Gaze is down and forward. Maybe you add leg lift here. And then we exhale, lower down. I'm going to do 3 more. So we inhale, lift, lengthen, reach, exhale, lower. Last 2. Lower down. You could bring your arms forward to let the head rest here. You may give a little hip wiggle, relaxing through the lower back. So not only your core and abdominal muscles here supporting the spine, but perhaps obviously these muscles that run along parallel to the spine, keeping that spine long and erect as opposed to rounding in the upper back or taking a lot of force in the spine of the lower back. I'm going to do another set of these locust poses. I'm going to change my arm position. So this time the arms come out to the sides in a W or cactus position, working different muscles in the upper back. Tailbone lengthens towards the feet. Pubic bone is pressing into the floor. Inhale, lift the head, chest. Lift the arms, a little shoulder blade squeeze. Gaze down and forward. Optional leg lift with this. And then we exhale, lower. I'm doing 3 more. So it's not a huge back bend. It's pretty subtle because I'm keeping my tailbone lengthened towards the foot of the mat so that I distribute the kind of arch through the whole spine as opposed to finding a fulcrum point in the lower back. Lower down, arms forward, rest the head. You could bend the knees, rocking the legs side to side. Lowering the feet down, pressing yourselves up. It might feel good to find that child's or puppy pose from here for a few breaths. Taking your time, we're coming back up to hands and knees. So I'm going to use my blanket here for the next one. I'm bringing it into a roll. So I'm rolling that whole thing up here. Now this could be where you use a foam roller. I'll demonstrate with both. And we did this in that first warrior one where we had the hands behind the head and we arch back and round forward from that upper back area. So we're going to do something here, but have the roll under our upper back. So this roll, I'm going to lie down, face up on it, but that is going to go about mid upper back. Ladies, where your bra strap is. Men, hopefully you know where that is, but right below the shoulder blades. So I get this back bend in the mid and upper back. If you got here and you're like, whew, Laura, that is too much, you could always unroll this and have a smaller roll or have it more of in a folded position. Or you can use the foam roller. The softer the foam roller, the more comfortable this is. So I will demonstrate here. So I'm going to start in the up position. So my head is up. I'm going to bring the hands behind my head, knees bent. And then I'm dropping the head back, the shoulders back. And then I'm pulling it back up. And you're going to use your core for that. So you inhale, slowly let the head, the shoulders drop back, maybe just a little bit. And then on your exhale, you're kind of pulling the low ribs back in towards the abdomen. So we inhale, Drop it back. Exhale, pulling it up here. We'll do a few more. So primarily using my rectus abdominis, my six pack here, where it attaches up at the rib cage, but you're going to feel your obliques and other transverse abdominis working here. And this is work. We're also mobilizing that mid and upper back, while that lower spine, the lumbar spine, stays relatively stable. All right, that's enough of that. We'll bring the arms down to press yourself up. You can take that roll out from underneath you here. Coming onto your back, it might feel good to pull the knees in and just gently rock a little bit. Bring the feet down. We're crossing that right ankle over the left knee. You could stay here, it could be enough, or pull the legs in towards you. Reach between to hold the back of the thigh. Or the option of placing one or two blocks under the left foot so you can kind of wedge yourself into the stretch. I'm probably going to do that variation here for this right leg. And with the blocks, my arms, shoulders kind of relax automatically, but if you're holding your leg here, consciously release around the shoulders, neck, the jaw muscles. That stretch through the right buttocks, outer hip, or maybe it's just a sense of openness as opposed to sensation of stretch. I'm going to keep the right ankle crossed, but bring the left foot down to the floor. It's a variation of a spinal twist here. We'll bring the arms out to the sides, drop both legs over to the right. Now, you could keep that right ankle crossed over that knee. It's going to give you a little bit more stretch here through the left hip flexors, side waist and obliques, or if it feels like too much, you can bring that foot down to the ground, but the legs are no longer symmetrical. Knees are not stacked. In that left arm, you could keep it straight out to the side or maybe reach it up overhead. So you kind of lengthen here. So long line from that left hand down to the knee. Gaze up, your head turned towards the left side here. And you start to lengthen, stretch through some of those obliques, hip flexors. We'll bring the legs back up through center. This time will be left ankle over right knee. You could stay here. You could pull the legs towards you, holding back of that right thigh or the shin, right shin, or a foot on the two blocks. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the muscles of the face and the jaw. Keep the left ankle crossed over the knee. Bring the right foot down to the floor. Dropping both legs over to the left. You could keep that ankle over the knee positioning or untangle them, but you're in that asymmetrical twist. Arms might be fine right where they are, or reach that right arm more in an overhead position, and that's going to start to give you a little more stretch here through those obliques. So remember, the obliques are kind of the set of three muscles: the serratus, that under the shoulder blade, underside of the shoulder blade muscle, the lats, the big back and arm muscle, and here from underneath, the obliques, as they attach on the ribs, are stabilizing the ribs in the catch position, the beginning of the drive when the legs are working. The arms are staying in the stretch forward position, torso not leaning back yet. So those kind of three sets of muscles stabilizing, and that repeated position of that strong, forceful, stabilizing motion can cause the stress fracture in the ribs. Untangling the legs, pull the knees up through center. Maybe pulling the knees in towards you here for a gentle opening of the upper back, or maybe it's a happy baby. Deciding if there feels like there's something missing from the practice that you'd like to add in. Maybe it's a little more hip stretching or spinal twisting. And setting yourself up for Shavasana. And I'm going to choose to use my blanket here, rolling it up again, but this time a long skinny roll that's going to go vertically under my spine. But you might choose to come into legs up the wall, or a different position or a different use for the blanket, butterfly position of the legs. So here I have my tailbone, spine, and head on the blanket, and then bringing the arms out to the side. So this allows my shoulder blades to wrap around that roll, brings the serratus muscles, these underside of the shoulder blade muscles that wrap around to the side ribs, actually come into a gentle stretch and release. So releasing, lengthening those muscles that could potentially be pulling on the rib cage. Wherever you've chosen to be here in this relaxation position, finding some ease, right? So if you've got here and it feels like a lot of stretch, you can bring your arms down a little bit. Finding a position with your legs, your arms, or maybe it's head that needs a little more support, a little less support. Wherever you've chosen to be, take an inhale through the nose. Open the mouth and let out a sigh. You could do it again. Allow the body to rest, letting the breath go, giving yourself the next few minutes for recovery from the practice, from the day, from your workout. Start to deepen your breath. Make some gentle movements like wiggling the fingers, the toes, wrists, the ankles. Maybe a full body stretch. You inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, let it go. From the back, bend the knees. Roll to your side. Pausing for a moment here. Taking opportunity to appreciate your body, your breath, your health, and your yoga practice. Being gentle with yourself, pressing up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, sharing your practice and energy. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.